The house is perfect, too perfect if you let yourself think about it. White siding, a manicured lawn trimmed with surgical precision, shutters painted in a green so immaculate they could belong on a postcard. It doesn't smell right, though. There's no tang of mulch or crushed grass here, just a stale, sterile sharpness like sun-baked plastic. You kill the engine and step out, the gravel crunching under your shoes too loudly in the stillness. The street is silent. An entire neighborhood polished to a high suburban shine, devoid of life. Not a single kid on a bike, not one dog barking. You spot the woman as you pull the first moving box out of your car. Older, stooped, wrapped in a brown cardigan too heavy for summer. She's watching you, no wave, no smile, just a fixed stare from her side of the street. "New family, huh?" she finally calls. Her voice cracks like broken glass. You'll want to keep track of the days. You blink at her, unsure how to answer. "The 6-month mark, you see," she adds, eyes glinting under dark lids. Then, as abruptly as she appeared, she turns and shuffles out of view. Gravel crunches again, this time fading into the distance. She doesn't look back once. "That's welcoming," you mutter, your fingers unconsciously tapping your wedding ring. Clink, clink. You should unload the car. The house swallows your footsteps as you step inside. Paint so pristine it looks wet. The air, thick and still, makes you pause mid-breath. You set a box down and scan the living room. The grandfather clock in the corner ticks wildly, though its pendulum swings in slow, uneven arcs. This space doesn't feel empty. Not dead, not lifeless, just interrupted, as though whoever lived here before meant to return any moment. You shift your weight. Your gaze flicks to the doorframe. A single carved X, faint but deliberate, catches your eye. You crouch to trace the grooves, fingertips grazing the roughness of splintered wood. A mark of some kind. You glance up and your stomach sinks. Another X, higher up this time. You step back slowly, head turning to take in the rest of the frame. More of them. Faint carvings inching upward like tally marks swallowed by the ceiling. A nervous laugh slips out against your will. "Guess someone had kids," you tell the empty room, your voice sounding small, ridiculous. But that doesn't explain why they're on every single doorway you've seen so far. You tell yourself the shiver running down your spine is just from the chilly hallway. The thermostat's probably set too low, and besides, the hardwood floors are cold against your socks. That's it. Nothing else. Still, every step feels heavier as you move farther from the stairs, the shadows pooling longer on the walls. Visual. A cracked door at the end of the hall hangs unevenly, the gap exposing just enough blackness beyond to seem intentional. It's quieter than it should be. No muffled sound of your spouse unpacking downstairs or the kids bickering over whose turn it is to choose the TV channel. The air presses in differently here, muted and off. You wonder why you're walking so cautiously when the house has given you no real reason to. And then it moves. The door on your left, one of the spare bedrooms you barely glanced at earlier, shifts. A shallow groan from the hinges, almost apologetic, as it swings open a few inches. It halts as if waiting for you to accept the invitation or decline it. You stand there, your hand gripping the banister so tightly it pinches. Goosebumps replace the cold. They rise on your arms, on the back of your neck. "Stop," you tell yourself. "It's just an old house, settling." The words are thin, weightless. Inside, the room is bare except for the shadows that mass in the corner. You step away and pull the door just past the point where it clicked shut. Hours later, over dinner, you forget almost entirely. The house listens, someone says in the dream, though your spouse laughs when recounting it. Just a weird one, they call it, shrugging as they prod a corner of shepherd's pie with their fork. You laugh too, though it sits awkwardly in your throat. "Something about it just felt aware of me," they add. The kind of offhand statement people make without noticing what they've said. But you noticed. It's just a dream. You focus on eating. You tune into the mundane sounds instead. The clink of utensils on ceramic, the whoosh of stirring air as your youngest swings her legs. Normalcy holds for a moment, stretching thin across a growing void. The glass of water in front of you glints sharply, lending a weird sheen to a faint ripple on the surface. Then your oldest pipes up, her mouth full. "I had a dream last night, too." "What about?" You keep your voice light, eyes on her instead of the pitch-black window behind her head. Her brow furrows like she's not sure how to phrase it. I I think I was in the attic, but it wasn't our attic. It was. She trails off. Choose harder. You should ask her to clarify, press for more, but you can't let her see the faint prickle of sweat beginning to bead at your temple. Your spouse nudges her. See what your imagination does when you watch those scary YouTube videos before bed? They're half joking, but no one's laughing. The silence she leaves in her bowl is thick and heavy. You don't plan on going into the attic that night, but sleep is elusive. When it finally comes, it's uncomfortable, like lying under something too heavy to throw off. At some point, you're up again, wandering, restless. The shiver from earlier hasn't left. The pull-down cord for the attic door seems too out of place, too wrong. Frayed like it's been grabbed too many times, its fibers greased with invisible history. You blame curiosity, not unease, never unease, as you pull it. The rungs of the ladder rattle with weight they shouldn't have. Your wedding ring clinks against each one on your ascent. A dim bulb in the apex of the attic swings faintly, its chain trembling like something disturbed it moments before. Boxes line the back wall, some sealed, some yawning open to reveal scraps of yellowed paper and fabric. Dust stirs and settles again as you move slowly, scanning the space. It takes 2 circuits of the attic for you to spot it, half hidden beneath a sagging mound of newspaper that smells faintly metallic. A picture frame, faint shake in your hand when you pick it up. Faces pressed into glossy black and white smile back at you. The woman looks like your wife, but not exactly. The man, a little heavier, a fainter jawline, could almost be you, blurred through time. 2 kids complete the tableau, their expressions familiar enough to stop the breath cold in your chest. Not the same people, not replicas. Family, but not yours. You hold your breath as you descend into the basement, unwilling to admit you're afraid. The air changes halfway down, the sharp, damp smell of stone soaking into your skin. Your hand slides along the rail, the wood grain rough and splintered, sandpaper biting at your palm. The single bulb overhead swings gently, faintly illuminating the space beneath you. It shouldn't be swinging. You haven't gone near it. A faint skittering noise in the shadows behind you, quick and light, too faint to decide if it's real or some tremor of your nerves. You stop mid-step, the creak of the wooden stairs deadening sharply in the leaden silence. The weight of the house seems to settle further onto you, pressing as if gravity has thickened here. Each shape in the basement defies clarity. Half-empty paint cans, forgotten tools, boxes bulging with contents you meant to organize. It's a graveyard of intentions, a burial mound for tasks left undone. Shadows pool in the corners, unbroken but alive with suggestion if you stare too long. You tell yourself, get it over with. 3 more steps. 2. Your sneaker crunches against something small and hard, but when you glance down, there's nothing but dust and loose concrete. The chains on the single pull cord overhead sway faintly, clinking softly, almost rhythmically. The light explodes. You flinch backward, but too late. A shard clips your upper lip, its sting chased by a warm line of blood. In the next second, the basement falls into complete darkness, tarp-thick, suffocating. A cold stripe of air snakes past your ankle. You stagger back out of instinct, but in the dark, you miss the step. Your back hits the railing hard, a blunt pain knocking loose the air in your chest. For seconds, you can't move. It feels like the house is watching, weighing, visual, the faint glow of the basement window wells, just enough to make out angular fragments of broken glass underfoot, glinting like teeth in the shadows. You don't dare call out. You don't even breathe loud enough to betray your position. But something else shifts. Not sound exactly, but a suggestion you can't place, a presence just beyond your comprehension. You don't go back down, not tonight, not without light. The bulb's shattered remnants crunch underfoot as you work your way up, one hand glued to the railing, one clutched to the bleeding cut on your lip. You notice the way they watch you now, suspicious, like you're a stranger. Dinner is silent except the scrape of forks on plates. No one finishes their food. No one says they aren't hungry. Afterward, you linger in the kitchen. Wiping the spotless counter gives your hands something to do. They're trembling. From where you stand, you can see the hallway mirror. Your reflection is dim, the angle distorted just enough to feel misaligned, unsettling. You hear their voice before you see them. Why'd you do it? Calm, clipped. You lift your head. They're standing in the doorway to the living room, arms folded. Their weight leans against the frame, casual only in a way designed to disguise tension. "What?" "My books," they say. "The magazine's on the table. My glasses on the nightstand. Why do you keep moving things?" The words hang between you, a drop of cold water down the spine. You shake your head. "I didn't. Why would I?" Their laugh cuts you off, scornful. "You want me to believe that? They're in places I never put them." Something in their tone roots you in place. It's not annoyance, it's accusation, sharper than you've ever heard from them. The thought forms as quickly as you crush it. They sound like they think you're not you. But maybe you're thinking the same about them. "I swear," you start, but your throat tightens. You've had that same feeling, things not where you left them. A mug left damp on the kitchen counter when no one drank coffee that day. The kid's stuffed toy on the couch, missing the tear you could have sworn you'd seen the week before. The door that's always locked creaking faintly at 3 a.m. like it's inviting something in. Sleeplessness, you'd told yourself. Overthinking. Stress. "I don't know what's going on." Your voice comes out weaker than you intend. The muscles in their jaw tighten. They leave you standing there, framed against the mirror, unsure which version of yourself the house will let them see. You lie awake that night, metal tapping softly against wood. 4 beats. Pause. 4 beats. The sound of your wedding ring against the bedside table cuts the stillness sharper than you mean to, sharper than you want it to. Your spouse hasn't turned to face you since the argument. They're back a cliffside at the edge of the mattress. Trying to sleep near them feels more like watching something sleep than lying next to a person. Sound cue: wind plays against the window. It whistles faintly through lintel cracks too small to repair. Your eyes drift toward the door to the hallway. You wonder, again, if it had always been partially open. The slight angle of it reminds you of the photos upstairs, the creased smiles pressed against glass, caught imperfectly in an alternate version of your life. The next morning, you go back to the basement. This time, sunlight through the windows cuts through just enough to see outlines. Still, everything looks wrong. The shadows cling too long to corners, and the cold air feels weighted. You hold a flashlight. Not much, but enough that the beam slashes against the walls, neutralizing parts of the dark one step at a time. Visual. A jagged network of cracks webbing through the foundation wall, the lines so dense and methodical they resemble deliberate carving among the crumbling stone. But what stops you is the pattern. It doesn't just look methodical, it matches. Your stomach plummets as your hands fumble toward one jagged corner. The flashlight trembles in your grasp, the motion making the cracks dance like tessellations on animal hide. Those marks, the faint X's you found carved against the wood upstairs, are here too, etched into harder places. Too perfect not to be connected. Your jaw clenches hard enough to ache. A hollow, rhythmic tapping, 5 beats this time, inhumanly even, pulsing faintly from behind the wall. The tap stops, and something, some sense older than you, tells you it's waiting for you to finish the pattern. The records are incomplete, each story ending abruptly after 6 months. You sit hunched over the desk in the home office, surrounded by a chaotic scatter of papers looted from the attic. Faded typeface and curling edges tell their age. Your breath fogs a little in front of you, though the thermostat reads 72. One family after another, always 6 months. No police reports, no explanations, just missing. A sepia-toned photo near your elbow shows the house perfectly pristine, white picket fence gleaming under a summer sun. 4 people stare dead-eyed at the camera,